A lot of requests coming through about how to get kids to listen without yelling. And one of the questions that comes up is,
why your kids ignore you.
Shall we get real right up front in this video?
Okay.
It could be that your words are garbage.
They don't trust you. That's why they ignore you.
That could be one of the reasons. Now, it's not because you don't have something important to say, but for a lot of kids, they learn that they need to pay more attention to your mood than to your words.
Yeah. I used to always wonder, why are you waiting until I'm just like steam coming out of my ears before you listen? And so then I'd even try, well, maybe I get mad faster and they'll listen faster. But
Actually, that's not bad reasoning, Vicki.
It's just not great, effective parenting.
Well, you still don't want to be losing your cool, and you don't want to wait until there's steam coming out of your ears before your kids actually pay attention to you. So really what we want to do is turn our words from garbage into gold.
Okay, so our problem is they can't necessarily trust us. So what do we do to change our words from garbage to gold?
I already said that they'll cue into your mood or your emotion more than your words. And so one of the strategies here is to disconnect the emotion from the discipline.
Right, so they don't have that emotion to latch onto. They're going to, without that emotion, the only thing left is?
Pay attention to your words and no idle threats. Sometimes in anger we say things that we don't really mean, okay? And it can range from, blatant felonies to just something that we know we're not going to follow through on. And so no idle threats. This is going to take a little bit of practice, but as you get better at some of the strategies and the discipline techniques that you can learn through the channel here, then you'll be more confident and you won't be popping off with the idle threats all the time. Before we move on to the next reason why your kids might be ignoring you, disconnecting the emotion from the discipline means that we're going to make the discipline all business.
Right.
It doesn't have any effect on me emotionally. At least this is what we're shooting for. I know we're talking about ideals here, but we want the discipline to be very businesslike. And like Vicki, you pointed out, this puts the focus back on your words and they start to listen more carefully because it matters now.
Another reason your child might not be listening to you, because they don't really have a good reason to listen to you.
And you do.
You have an agenda.
Yes. You know what? I've asked parents this in our groups. I ask parents, why should your kids listen to you? And they give me some pretty good reasons. I mean, you've got good reasons, right?
I bet.
Why your kids should listen to you. But the point is, your kids.
They need a good reason.
They don't have a good reason to listen to you. So turn off the parent brain for just a minute. Try to think like your kid and ask the question again. Why should they listen to me?
This is going to cause you to really get clear about what consequences you are using.
Which might be the reason why they would listen to you. Now, this depends on their stage of moral development.
Right.
We've talked in other videos and in our coaching groups about the 3 stages. At stage 1, it's very selfish and self-centered. And they are not going to be thinking in the same way that you are because you're on stage 3. You're this mature parent, right? And you do the right things for the right reasons. Well, your kids aren't there yet. And so if their level of moral development has them doing things because either there's something in it for me or I'm going to get clobbered if I don't, well, those are 2 pretty good reasons to listen, aren't they? For a stage 1 person. That's the point. So find a way for them to have a good reason to listen to you. And Vicki, like you pointed out, a lot of this has to do with getting good at implementing those consequences and having some consistency.
Now, that's talking with a child more on level stage 1, sometimes stage 2, right? One of the things we've talked a lot about is your example as a parent. And so I think in being consistent about the example you're sharing them is another reason. Can I share a little parable I was listening to again this morning? It was about a woman who was so concerned about her son eating way too much candy, and he wouldn't listen to her, he wouldn't stop. He was just ignoring her, right? So she took him to the community's wise sage and said, tell my son not to eat so much candy. And he said, come back in 2 weeks. And the mom was kind of frustrated. It's like, why? So they go home, Come back in 2 weeks, and the man said, don't eat so much candy. It's not good for you. And the boy said, okay. And Mom said, why didn't you just tell him that 2 weeks ago? And he said, because 2 weeks ago, I was still eating too much candy. And so we got to walk the walk we're asking our kids. We got to set an example of somebody to respect as well.
Exactly. Obviously, from our conversation already, you can see that your child's stage of moral development might be one of the reasons why they're not listening to you. And it has nothing to do with, the way you're presenting it or how important your words are, whether they're garbage or gold. It may simply have to do with their maturity.
Right.
Picture this for a minute, okay? You got a 2-month-old infant, and they're not listening to you.
It's laughable because we don't really expect them to.
Infants don't. It's not consistent with their development. Now, if you got a 13-year-old, you would expect that your 13-year-old's going to listen.
But remember, we've talked so many times, it's about stage, not age.
Right.
And so a 13-year-old can be at stage 1. If this confuses you at all, just remember to go back to some of our other resources where we talk about all the stages of moral development.
In fact, start with teaching kids responsibility. That particular video will outline those 3 stages, and it'll make a whole lot more sense to you. But that might be why they're not listening.
But the fact that if you can get your mind set, okay, they're not listening because they're on stage 1, that gives you a chance and more power to then change maybe some of the ways you're approaching, some of your expectations, and your consequences so that you can set them up for success at listening to you and not ignoring you.
You have to adjust as a parent because you don't get to decide what stage your kids are on. And if they're on stage 1, it's not bad. It's not that they're broken. It's simply that they're on that stage of development. And that means you as a parent get to change your approach.
You get to meet them on the stage they're at.
If you don't, you're going to feel frustrated and they're going to be bouncing off the walls as well. So that's really important. That's really crucial. The other reason that kids might not be listening or paying attention to what you say is that you don't have any authority.
But I'm the parent.
Oh, like that's going to give it to you. You think? I know. It's just like, why should they listen to you? You've got tons of reasons.
Right.
As a parent, you have legal, moral authority with your child, but do you really have authority? And I mean the kind of authority that they feel and respond to.
Right.
Having authority requires 2 elements. We'll just simplify it to that, okay?
Let's talk
You
about
have to be able to set and enforce appropriate limits. Why is that even important, Vicki?
Boy, I see it in the development of children all of the time, that if there's not a really clear limit set that is appropriate and reinforced, there's this little internal part of them that knows that they can't run their whole world, and it causes them kind of discord, even though they're
not safe in that
they're
space.
not safe, and they know it internally. We had a teenager once say, "Dad, just give me some leash." He wanted more limits lifted, but I know that inside he was kind of craving, I can't really control myself. I need your help.
Yes, and of course as a father I heard that as, leash, great idea. We've got to be able to set and enforce those limits.
Right.
If you set a limit that you can't possibly enforce, you don't reinforce your authority that way. You have to be able to enforce that limit as well. Now let's go to the other component. You have to be seen as a provider of good times and good things. You're already a provider of all kinds of good things for your child. And that's important to your authority. I know a lot of parents who focus so much on the discipline and they don't pay attention to, let's have some fun together. You got to be a provider of good times and good things as well. Those 2 things coming together is what gives you the authority. I hope these tools are helpful to you. There's a lot of other resources available right here on the channel through the Parenting Power Up, through our positive parenting coaching groups. There's all kinds of fun stuff that we're doing on your behalf. So please connect to that. Talk to one of our coaches soon because they'll be able to help you identify what's the best fit for you. drpauljenkins.com/breakthrough call.
To the phone.